This is going to be my most controversial video yet, and I made videos about how good Conor McGregor actually is, and how Jon Jones is not the GOAT. Today I am going to be crowning the best fighter of each letter in the alphabet. I will be providing my reasoning behind my choice, and encourage you to leave your opinions in the comments below. The rules are simple, one fighter per letter. We are going by the first letter of their first name only. So for the letter A, we could choose Alex Pereira or Anderson Silva, not both. Now let's get straight into it. This was a tough letter to do straight off the bat. I have to go with my favourite fighter of all time, Alex Pereira. I can assure you this isn't just bias speaking. Hear me out. Alex is a fearsome striker and former two-division glory kickboxing champion who made massive waves in MMA because of his history with Izzy. Since moving up to light heavyweight, he hasn't had a single close fight. There is not a person close to Alex's level when it comes to striking. While Anderson Silva was a strong contender for this spot due to his legendary title reign and iconic legacy, he did pop for PEDs. If I am going to shame Jon Jones for it, I have to shame Anderson Silva too, even though I love him. B is no Paul, not Brock Lesnar. He might be one of the worst UFC champions, which I will have a video tackling that topic soon. B belongs to Bas Rutten. A pioneer of MMA, is celebrated for his innovative striking, charismatic personality, and a legendary undefeated streak in his final 22 fights. A former UFC heavyweight champion, Bas's adaptability and skill in both striking and submissions set him apart in the early days of MMA. If Bas wasn't forced to retire early, I think we would hear way more about him to this day. C. Conor McGregor. Do I really need to say more about one of the most iconic fighters in MMA history? His electrifying striking, unorthodox movement, charisma, and the fact he is the best-selling fighter in UFC history makes it obvious why I chose him. Winning titles in 2 weight classes, featherweight and lightweight, is just the cherry on top. D. Demetrious Johnson. This is a fighter I plan to make a video on soon as well. Mighty Mouse is in my top 3 MMA fighters of all time next to Jon Jones and GSP. His overall technical ability is best in the world, and I will die on that hill. The only thing that holds him back from being the greatest of all time is fighting in a terrible weight class. Even if his competition is weaker, you can see how skilled he is in every single fight. I know Daniel Cormier is a fan favourite, but this spot belongs to Demetrious Johnson. E. Eddie Alvarez. This one we could debate in the comments. I chose Eddie because he is one of the most accomplished lightweights in MMA history, having won titles in both Bellator and the UFC. He was always a fan favourite, but an honourable mention for this spot is Edson Barboza. I prefer Edson Barboza because I absolutely love watching kicks. Leg kicks are my favourite, but any kicks. However, I gave it to Eddie Alvarez due to his championship legacy. F. There is only one person for this. He who Dana White refuses to name, Francis Ngannou. If you disagree on this one, you are wrong. I know someone will try to argue Fedor, but his record is grossly inflated, and he was so roided up his entire career, it makes it impossible to take seriously. Francis is a freak of nature, who had most people's GOAT Jon Jones ducking him while he was in the UFC. G. Georges St-Pierre GSP is the greatest MMA fighter of all time. George and GOAT both start with G for a reason. He avenged every loss, mixed grappling and striking like no one had ever seen before, and had the undoubtedly the best ground and pound game. Khabib's dad even said GSP is his favourite fighter, and used to study him to train his son. Enough said. H. Henry Cejudo. This was almost our first female fighter on the list. Holly Holm was a strong contender, but Henry being a double champ made him edge her out. Bantamweight fighters don't get enough respect. Show some love to the little guys. I. Ilia Topuria. Now this was a super hard letter, and I know there will be people riding for Izzy in the comments. Although Izzy is the only one to knock out Alex Pereira, and is insanely exciting to watch, Ilia is better. He is way more well-rounded. His fights versus Volkan Max in 2024 are unforgettable. If he moves up a weight class like he claims he is going to do, we might see another person in the GOAT conversation before he retires. J. Jon Jones, the most talented fighter in MMA history. I can say endless positive things about him. One of my favourite fighters to watch, regardless of all my criticisms towards him. His dominance at light heavyweight and ability to outclass opponents in every area of the game make him unmatched. Close second, Jose Aldo, a featherweight legend, but Jones's career accomplishments and skill set give him the obvious win. K. Khabib Nurmagomedov. I am a Khabib hater. I wanted to put Kamaru Usman, but I am trying to be objective here. 29-0 record says a lot about why he deserves the spot. Most of his fights weren't even very close, although I would argue he was not as dominant as I see Twitter claim. He did duck a few times, but his achievements and skill is still running laps on Usman. L. Lyoto Machida, one of the most unique karate-based styles MMA has ever seen. He became a UFC light heavyweight champion with that odd style too. Honourable mention, Luke Rockhold, but Machida's influence on MMA techniques puts him ahead. M. Max Holloway, the former UFC featherweight champion, known for his incredible cardio, boxing, and toughness. His wars with top-tier opponents and long reign as champion solidify his legacy. Do I need to even mention the knockout of the year he got in 2024? Nate Diaz. One of the most beloved fighters in MMA history, mostly for things outside of the ring, but also for his memorable moments, such as his submission victory over Conor McGregor. Nick Diaz, his brother, could contend for this spot, but Nate's UFC success and longevity give him the edge. Oleg Taktarov, one of the original UFC tournament champions, was a pioneer in MMA's early days. His sambo skills and toughness made him a standout. While options are limited for Taktarov's contributions to the sport earn him the recognition. Petr Yan. This is a guy who is in a division full of guys with incredible chins and durable fighters, and he's decked or shaken basically every person he's fought with, the exception of Merab. But that was a performance where he was flustered and constantly being pushed back, and Merab has a great chin on top of it. He decked Sandhagen and hurt him bad. He hurt Aldo badly a few times and finished him with strikes. He cracked Song Yadong several times and shook him with an uppercut, along with just folding him over with uppercuts to the body. He has huge body kicks that he's folded several opponents over with. I don't think there is another fighter that deserves this spot. Quinton Rampage Jackson, a clear pick for Q. We are talking about a guy who Jon Jones said he was afraid of and had nightmares of leading up to their fight. In his prime, he was arguably the scariest fighter on earth. He beat Liddell, Silva, Randleman, became the first unified pride and UFC champ, had a fun and exciting style and charisma. I can't even think of another name that starts with Q in this discussion. Randy Couture. Ronda Rousey almost took this spot because she revolutionized women's MMA, becoming the UFC's first women's champion and an icon of the sport. The impact on bringing women's MMA to the forefront made me debate if she deserved it. However, Randy Couture won because of how much of a pioneer he was. On top of all of his impact in the octagon, he also is a massive advocate for UFC getting fair pay, something that has him blacklisted now. You will never hear his name mentioned by Dana White because of it, but we will mention him here. Stipe Miocic, widely regarded as the greatest heavyweight in UFC history, with the most title defenses in the division. His well-rounded skills and longevity make him the top choice. A close contender would be Sean Strickland, but Stipe's accomplishments at heavyweight are unmatched. Tony Ferguson. This is a depressing one. Tony had one of the most impressive win streaks in lightweight history. Another option could have been Tito Ortiz, who I will be making a video on soon as well, but Ferguson's exciting fights give him the edge. Tony has one of the worst fall-offs I have ever seen in any sport. I hope he retires, but for now, let's just give him his flowers for the memories he blessed us with. Urijah Faber. The California Kid is one of the most influential fighters in the lighter weight classes and a WEC legend. His contributions to popularizing featherweight and bantamweight divisions earn him this spot, although my favorite match of his is a loss versus Jose Aldo. Valentina Shevchenko. She is one of the most dominant female fighters in MMA history, with her reign as UFC flyweight champion showcasing her unparalleled skills. Vitor Belfort was a close second, but Valentina's consistency and technique set her apart. Wanderlei Silva, the Axe Murderer, was a Pride legend known for his ferocious striking and aggressive fighting style. Remember how I said Rampage was the scariest man on the planet in his prime? Wanderlei is right next to him. He was absolutely terrifying. His iconic fights and dominance in Pride make him the clear choice for W. Xiongting Nan, One Championship's first women's strawweight champion, has been a dominant force in her division. Her striking and toughness earn her recognition in this list, with few contenders for X. Yoel Romero. Yoel is a freak athlete with explosive power and Olympic-level wrestling. We're talking about a guy who can't turn his neck and is still out there ragdolling grown men. He is one of the few wrestlers who would put on an entertaining show for even the most casual of viewers. Zhang Weili, China's first UFC champion, has become one of my favourite fighters in MMA. She already has some historic battles, including her war with Joanna Jedrzejczyk. I don't think there are too many Z names to compete, but don't be fooled by that. She has earned her spot on this list. If you enjoyed, be sure to subscribe and click one of the videos on the screen to watch some more.